Hi, I'm Scott. There's Brewster. Welcome to the very first episode of Brewster's Garage.
Well, I'm pretty excited for a couple reasons. First, it's the very first edition of Brewster's Garage, so thanks for being here. And second is I'm on my way down to Mike's place to pick up the subject of Brewster's Garage, at least for the time being, and that is the 1939 Studebaker Champion. I got a trailer. Maybe a bit of a challenge to get the Studebaker onto the trailer, given that it doesn't run and there's no winch on the trailer. But the good news is it does roll. So we'll see how it goes. Stay tuned.
So we got the Studebaker home and off the trailer with Lisa behind the wheel and some help from some of the neighbors. So let me tell you a little bit about the car, how I got it, and what the plans are for it. So as I said, it's a 1939 Studebaker Champion. 1939 was the first year that Studebaker introduced the Champion. It was the first model year. This particular car I got from my very good friend Mike. Mike's grandfather bought this car new in 1939. His grandfather owned a small family-run dairy farm outside of Seattle, Washington. And he drove it for about 20 years. And then in 1960, it looks like he parked it in the barn. And there it stayed for 65 years. Bruce, Brewster. As far as my plans for the Studebaker, I have always wanted for years a vintage custom hot rod truck. And I was looking around for a truck to buy to refurbish and turn into that hot rod truck that I've always wanted. But then Mike offered me the Studebaker, and at first I was very hesitant because obviously it's not a truck and it'd take a lot of work to get it to become a truck. Um, but in the end, I decided to take it. Um, this is what it's all about. Customizing something to make it become exactly what you want. And I'm sure there are people out there that are going to say that this car should be restored to its original state. And I completely respect that, but that's not what I want, and that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to convert this car, at least attempt to convert this car into the hot rod truck that I've always wanted. This is going to be a very difficult and long project for me. Um, I'm not a professional. I'm very much an amateur. I have never done anything like this. I've always been a builder, an amateur builder, a hobbyist, I guess you could say, in both woodworking and metalworking and welding, but I've never really done metal shaping, and there's going to be some metal shaping I'm going to need to do for this. I have watched probably hundreds and hundreds of hours of metal shaping YouTube videos, and I'll post in the description of this video some of my favorite channels. So one of the challenges I'm going to face with this project is limited space. I live in a suburban neighborhood. I have a 1.5 car garage that's full of stuff. Doesn't really have that much room in it. So really most of the work that's going to take place is going to take place out on the driveway. And I'm going to need to be very strategic about the parts of the car that I'm going to keep, and what I'm going to reuse and what I'm going to get rid of.
First thing I needed to do was completely clean out the interior. The seats, the carpet, the headliners, the door panels. The car had been in a barn for 45 or 50 years, and so a lot of critters had made nests in it, and it all needed to go. After that, I removed all the glass from the car and started taking off the trim. Then I started working on getting the dashboard out, removing the steering wheel and the steering column, and getting some of the components under the dash out. I got the dashboard out, and now it's time to remove some of the other components. I'm going to remove the parking brake lever. I'm going to keep this because I think it's pretty cool, and I'll use it when I build the car back up. And just generally clean up where the dashboard was. Also, there's some asbestos under here, so I need to get that out of there. And then I got to remove the shifter and the steering column, and I have to try to get the steering wheel off of the column. Well, I couldn't get the steering wheel off of the steering column, so I had to cut it off with the Sawzall. To get the body off the frame, I've got some bolts I got to remove. There's a line of bolts on both sides within the car. I've already removed this one and this one. There's another one under the dash right there. It's pretty rusted. Another one that was under the back seat. It's pretty rusted. I think there's one in the trunk as well. That I'm sure is very rusted. Problem is all of these, like I said before, are bolts with loose nuts, so I need a wrench on both sides, and it's kind of hard to reach. I can't reach under the car and turn a nut on this side, so either need to get another person helping me here, or maybe I just get the cutting wheel out and just cut the head of the bolts off and not deal with it. And then under the car I have some brackets. I think I'm just going to cut the brackets with a Sawzall just to remove them, because again, very rusted bolt. Yeah, there's another bracket right there. And then yesterday Elena was here, and she helped me weld in some of the bracing that we're going to need for in place before we cut the midsection out of the car to create the cab. So that looks pretty good. I think we're pretty good with the bracing on the back part. I've been under the car a lot trying to separate the frame from the body, and boy, there is a lot of dirt under here. But probably makes sense. Being driven in the 1940s in rural Washington state, it's probably all dirt roads back then. So I now have the body separated from the frame, and the next thing I'm going to do is cut the rear fenders off of the body. The fenders are attached to the body with about 15 bolts. They're very difficult to reach, and I'm sure they're really rusted. So instead of struggling with that, I'm just going to cut them off. I'm not sure if I'm going to reuse these fenders when I rebuild the car, but I'll hold on to them just in case. Also, Augie, Elena and Kyle's dog, is staying with us for a few days, so you'll probably see him roaming around and playing with Brewster.
I already mentioned that I separated the body from the frame. Yesterday I jacked up the frame and used the jack stands to create the kind of this precarious situation so that I can get the body up high enough to roll the frame out from under the body. It's going to stay this way for a couple days. I have my nephew Franklin coming over in a couple days, and he's going to help me roll the frame out and cut it up because it's going to be scrapped, not keeping it. And then at that point we can bring the body down. We're going to build a wooden structure with some caster wheels that the body will be bolted to so I can move it around a little bit more. I've also taken off the back doors. This section that's going to be cut out when we make it into a cab.
Summer's night, Lord, we couldn't close our eyes. It was a woman I. Lord, we couldn't close our eyes.
But,
An old woman's shout gave us a fright.
Like here?
yep. Oh.
Look at that.
So Franklin and I got the frame out from under the body and cut it all up, mostly using the Sawzall, and actually cut up pretty easily. And we were able to get the suspension taken apart and all the leaf springs off of the frame using an impact wrench. We had some trouble getting the wheels separated from a couple of the brake drums on one side of the car. A couple days later, when Mike was over, I mentioned this to him, and he figured out the problem right away. For some strange reason, on this car, the lug nuts on one side of the car have left-hand threads. So when we thought we were loosening them with the impact wrench, we were actually tightening them. Now the next step is to build the wooden dolly on casters that the body will be bolted to.
I walked all the way from East St. Louis to town. I walked all the way from East St. Louis to town. And I did not have but one lousy dime. I see a dark cloud rising, and I wonder what's gonna come of me. I see a dark cloud rising, and I wonder what's gonna come of me. And when I die, won't you please remember me?
Well, Augie's gone home, and it's just Brewster and myself. And after only one near disaster, I now have the body bolted to the casters in 6 spots, 3 on each side, there, and there. And pretty happy with it. It's move it around pretty easily.
The next day, Mike and his son Jake brought their truck up so we can take all the cut up pieces of the frame to the scrapyard. Part of the roof of the barn had collapsed when the Studebaker was in the barn, and it had been raining on the trunk of the car, so it was all rusted out. Since we're not going to be needing it, I did a rough cut off of the trunk so we could take it to the scrapyard as well.
And if you make it to St. Louis, folks, stop by on the other side.
Well, I'm really happy with everything that I've gotten done over the last few weeks on the Studebaker. Not the most glamorous tasks to be done when customizing a car, but I think necessary. And the good news is we're now ready to really start making modifications to this thing and try to turn it into the custom hot rod truck that I've been wanting. If you made it this far, then I really appreciate you hanging out and watching my journey here. There's going to be a lot more content from Brewster's Garage, so go ahead and subscribe and hit notifications, and until next time, we'll see you later.